Good morning. Our opening words this morning are by Louis Untermeyer. May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms till every corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter, drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Spirit of life, Spirit of love, be with us in this time of quiet reflection. We carry so much with us, and we take these few moments of grace to put down some of what we carry. Our worries and doubts, our pain, our bitterness, our confusion, our egos, and our ambitions even. We take these few moments of grace to empty ourselves. Even if we are to pick it up again when we leave, we need this time of handing over some of what we carry. Feeling a lightening of the load, let us breathe in deeply. Let us breathe out fully. And may the peace of this quiet time wash over you. Amen.
The reading this morning is entitled At the Threshold by Reverend Rebecca Parker. The first church I served as a young minister, right out of seminary, had an extraordinary front door. It was a pair of doors, actually, that formed a high arched opening that led from the outer world into the sheltering space of the sanctuary. The doors themselves were made from 2-inch by 12-inch planks of rough-cut Douglas fir, massive and heavy. Each had a large iron ring that you grabbed to open the door. If you were 5'2", like me, it took your whole body weight pulling on the ring to swing the doors open. It was no easy matter to cross the threshold into Wallingford United Methodist Church. It was difficult in more ways than one for me. The congregation had been quite clear that they did not want a woman for their minister, especially one right out of seminary. But in the Methodist system, the vote wasn't up to the congregation. It was up to a small committee that was evenly divided, 3 for and 3 against my being there. Jim Hewson, the chair of the committee, broke the tie in my favor. His reasoning was, why not give her a chance? Maybe she can preach. The Sunday I arrived to take up my duties as the minister, I climbed the 20 steps that led to the massive front doors with trepidation. I knew I had to preach to a congregation that was sharply divided about women entering the ministry. After church that Sunday, I would stand in the same doorway as people exited. The 40 or so congregants would shake my hand politely, and then one after another would say, I just want you to know that I don't think women should be ministers. At least they are straightforward, I thought to myself. But before church, as I climbed the stairs, I didn't know what it would be like. I was hopeful and anxious, determined to win them over, and doubtful that I could. In short, I was a nervous wreck. By the time I was halfway up the steps, I saw that the massive doors had been pushed open from within. A big, bosomy woman stepped across the threshold. Mildred Hewson. She was waiting for me. Later, I would come to know Mildred well. I would learn that her life had been changed by the years she spent at the bedside of her critically ill 20-year-old daughter, as that daughter slowly died of cancer. People respond differently to the heart-wrenching tragedy of losing a child. Mildred responded by forming a resolve that no person would pass within her sphere of influence without finding out that they were loved. She would personally see to it. Mildred became a representative of the Hound of Heaven. With cheerful determination, she made sure that every lost soul she encountered was found by love. That morning, I was the soul at risk that Mildred was watching for. There was no way she was going to let me cross the threshold into that sanctuary of people who were opposed to women in the ministry without my first being hugged, without my first being encompassed by a maternal love so strong, so sure, that I could not miss it, and I would never forget it. And sure enough, when I got to the threshold, Mildred, whom I had never met before, took me in her arms. "I am so glad you are here," she said. "God has sent you to us." It matters what happens to us at the threshold times and places. This is the lesson I was to learn many times at the Wallingford Church, which I served very happily for 7 years. It didn't take long for the people to decide it was okay to have a woman minister. When they discovered I could fix the broken addressograph machine in the church office, something that had flummoxed my male predecessor, the church and I made peace about women in the ministry. Rebecca Parker goes on to talk about how each week there were visitors to the church, and how each week she would ask them to come back. And they did. But that was not the significant thing, she says. The significant thing, she says, is what they told me about why they had come to church. Elizabeth and Tom came because they had just had their second child, and their marriage was in crisis. Could the church help them forgive each other and find a way to keep their commitments? John came because his father had just died of alcoholism. He was grieving, and he was angry. Was peace of mind possible? Eduardo came because he was tired of not having any community outside the gay bars. Would the church welcome him to be himself without fear? Mariko came because after 6 miscarriages, she had given birth to a healthy girl. How could she express her gratitude and joy? Mary came because she was having nightmares about nuclear war and the environmental crisis. Wasn't there something she could do to lessen the danger for the planet? No one comes to one of our congregations on a lark. The visitor at the doorstep of any church is a human being who is in the grasp of life's exhilarating blessing or life's painful turn toward sorrow. I learned to do for others what Mildred did for me. To meet people who cross the thresholds of our church, of the church, with love. To give them attentive respect, knowing that life, in all its messy pain and beauty, comes with them. Life has brought them. They come asking, is there help for the pain? Is there support for one who is afraid? Is there amplification for joy? Is there something I can do to help a troubled world? Our small church was changed by these encounters, and our job was to be there for our new people and to take the church as seriously as they did. This is a threshold time for all of us. The threshold times need all of us to accompany the ones who are crossing over, coming or going, to hold them in blessing, to greet them with warmth, to thank them with sincerity. It is at the threshold that we need the assurance that love holds our lives in an embrace that is unshakable. This is the most sacred task we do for one another, to be there at one another's going out and coming in, and to learn the lesson Mary Oliver spoke. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go.
It is a great honor and very humbling to read for you the words that Reverend Kate has written and left for us to hear this morning. The title of the sermon is, You're Welcome. You are welcome. If you have been in Kate's office, you know she has a thing for doors. Hanging on her walls are pictures of churches that have been important in her life, specifically the pictures of church doorways, thresholds. She says she even loves the word threshold. In her ministry training, she learned about something called threshold conversations. Those conversations people have as they are leaving, things people say to you as they go out the door, as if in an earthquake there is safety to standing in the door frame, a safety that you don't really feel in any other place. And of course, there are those conversations that take place on someone's way in, first encounters and homecomings. Rebecca Parker, as we heard in her reading, says this is a threshold time for all of us, and that threshold times need all of us to accompany each other as we cross over, coming or going, to hold each other in blessing, to greet with warmth, to thank with sincerity. Parker says it is at the threshold that we need the assurance that love holds our lives in an embrace, and that that embrace is unshakable. Kate says her church doorway obsession came long before she encountered Rebecca Parker's reading about church doorways, but having read that, now she loves doorways even more. She's reminded what sacred space they are, these thresholds. And though the pictures hanging in her office are of the doors only, she knows it is not just the structures that create those thresholds, but the people. And I'll step in here and say, I think what she means by that is that structure that makes a door. It's called an architrave, actually, and now there are 80 people in the world that know that word. That architrave is a person here and a person here. It's made up of people. That's what holds this building up. And the words that are spoken are holding that door up. And the hands that are outstretched form that opening. The embracing and enveloping arms. She wants to read, so I will read for you, something that a man from Wisconsin sent her this summer after coming here on a Sunday morning. And she adds, and can't you hear her saying this? You know, opening the mail is a real crapshoot. Sometimes it's just the bills and solicitations, or worse, letters of complaint. Those of us who are sitting here in these pews can't believe she ever gets letters of complaint. But sometimes the mail is amazing and wonderful, like the day she got this letter from Wisconsin. Here's what he sent. It's a poem he wrote called Provincetown Lost and Found. Let me tell you how I woke this morning in a different bed, facing south, unhurried, wrapped in a softer light as if passed through a cloud. Oh, to not speak for hours, but to listen. The sweet lament of mourning doves, squirrels gossiping, the holy call of the day's first ferry, the distant rustle of yesterday's news. Outside, my morning walk begins with the kind sway and creak of worn boardwalk. Then muffled side streets, pink peonies weighty and glistening with last night's rain, more than enough. "What would you like?" the young woman asked at the bakery, her vowels Russian round. And the blueberry scone lay so lovely behind glass. The glass door behind me opened to the already clamoring hum of tourists eager to purchase the day. My second words of the morning came later. "I'm Guy," spoken to the man making name tags in the Unitarian church named Love. Inside a high and bright emptiness, my simple emptiness. The choir sang "Over the Rainbow." My first words of the morning had been, "Nothing, thank you," to the Russian behind the glass counter. A wash of shame at how easy it was to want more than enough. My third words, "Peace be with you," to the hand reaching over the pew to my hand, which did not rise to wipe away tears before shaking his. Outside, a swarm of lost bees surrounded me, followed for a block. I was given free coffee in the church basement and a cookie. Thank you, Guy Thorvaldsen from Wisconsin, for those beautiful words. And thank you to Jimmy, where are you, and Ken, and to whomever else sits at our welcome table making name tags. Thank you to all of you who reach across a pew and don't mind when the hand shaking yours is tear-stained, because you understand. The welcoming moments that invite people to open up, feel deeply, sing loudly, search freely, question thoughtfully, pray tearfully, hope, dream, heal, cry, laugh, trust, love, believe. You see, it's not just the membership committee's job to see to it that people feel welcome here. It is a sacred task for all of us to honor that people are not here on a lark, that people are coming and going, carrying so much with them. These are threshold moments, and how we greet each other could make a difference to how someone feels about themselves and the whole world. Imagine if each of us saw to it that no person would pass within our sphere of influence without finding out they are loved. That is the sacred task of welcoming. But there is also the sacred task for those crossing the threshold, experiencing those threshold times for themselves. And she tells a story. One spring, Robert was determined to paint the family room. He got up early, drove to the hardware store, and bought gallons of red paint, the wooden mixing sticks, the drop cloths, the brushes. He mixed the paint outside and waddled to the door with a gallon in each hand, the drop cloth under his arm, and a wide brush in his mouth. Okay, wait for it. He teetered there for a few minutes, trying to open the door, but not wanting to put anything down. He was being stubborn. He had the door almost open when he lost his grip, stumbled backward, and wound up on the ground with gallons of red paint all over him. At that point, all he could do was laugh at himself. Mark Nepo says, amazingly, we all do this. We all do this. I know I do with groceries. He says with groceries or paint or with the stories we feel determined to share. That's true. We come sometimes into conversations with stories we're determined to share. And we do this with our love and with our sense of truth, even with our pain. It's such a simple thing. But in a moment of ego, we refuse to put down what we carry in order to open the door. Kate says sometimes, as an opening for worship, she reads these words. And these words are antithetical to what Mark Nepo just said. And both things are true. Do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave there your pain, your sorrow, or your joys. Bring them with you into this place of acceptance and forgiveness. Place them on the common altar of life and offer them to the possibility of your worship. And that is true much of the time. But then there are the times when it is not true, when we are holding ourselves back by carrying in here all we brought with us, when we would be better served leaving some of it at the threshold, so that we have room in our arms for what we might find here inside. Nepo says, time and time again, we are offered the chance to truly learn this. We cannot hold on to things and enter. We must put down what we carry, open the door, and then take up only what we need to bring inside. When we come to this sacred place and other thresholds in our lives, it matters how we are welcomed. It can make all the difference. But it is not the only thing that makes a difference. Part of feeling welcome might also involve our own work, the sacred task of putting a few things down on our way in. To live in this world, we must be able to do three things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Amen and blessed be.